Yeah, D Gambit in the building. Yeah, man. Glad y'all rocking with me. Yeah, so man, make sure you go ahead and check me out on Spotify. Life Innovate with D Gambit, season 14. Yes, yes, 14. I mean, coming up. So make sure you check that out. Coming up on Monday. Also, make sure you like and subscribe so we can keep this shit going. Like I said, man, get the YouTube cracking and keep it moving, man. Some things we want to go ahead and discuss. So gotta go ahead and jump into it, man. A lot of shit been going on, like I always say, and I'm no stranger to taking a look and seeing what's going on in the world and everything, and try not to, deal with too much of the bullshit and kind of leave that alone, and you know. But yeah, man. One thing that's come to my attention, and I know some of these things that we touched on the show and shit like that before. But yeah, man. Real quick before we move on, we got to stop so much of the self fear mongering. We're doing our own fear mongering now. That's crazy. Like we used to, it used to be a thing to where, and I don't want to be the old guy. It used to be a time, but it was a time to where the fear mongering was done mostly by you turn on the news or you turn on some media outlet, period. And here come all of the bullshit. Here come everything that you should be scared of. Here come all the people that they telling you that you should be scared of. Just so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Just continuous fear mongering, telling you what's bad for you, who you shouldn't be around, and just on and on and on. Who's causing all of the problems, and I could just go on and on and on. But now, we seem to have fallen into a space to where we are doing our own fear mongering. And here's what I mean. There's a lot of different things that's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of different things that are happening, a lot of different directions that you can look, a lot of different things that you can get behind, a lot of things, different things that you can potentially fear, different things that's, real and imagined fears, like real shit, right? But one thing that I'm starting to notice is that, I mean, and people send me shit all the time. I mean, like sometimes I am aware of things just because somebody else brought it to my attention. Not a media outlet, not any of that, but just, a person just finding out about something, freaking out about something, or either just seeing something that's just terrible, no, even if it's just random, and just sending it, and we send these things to each other, and then to move on and to piggyback off of that, when we're talking about all of this fear mongering, this even goes back to things that we've been talking about for years. Dave Chappelle touched on this in the last special. Basically, I man, look, I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy theory. I get it. I love. I used to really, really enjoy that shit back when people were really starting to get into the conspiracy theories. But it's getting to a point to where if you don't know, really, really know what's going on, and I mean, like, come on, man, stop. Is you doing more harm than good? You're in fact, you're essentially doing almost as much harm as the people who you saying are doing the harm, because you too are spreading shit that's giving people anxiety. You know what I mean? Like people get to spreading things and don't know all the way if it's true. Like some things we got our suspicions. Sometimes you could put two and two together. Sometimes you could look at a situation, a company, an organization, a government, or different things, and you can say, or a person, a group of people, and you can say, yeah, something ain't right. Something going on. I know they on some shit. I know it. But when sometimes when you get real specific and you get to turn the speculation into like mere like facts, like real facts, and people start telling you exactly what's going on behind closed doors, and telling you secrets that they somehow know, but somehow they still secrets, but everybody know about it. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of critical thinking with that. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that you don't take everything into consideration, or but you have to have a filter in which when something hit your ears and then go to your brain, you like, how much sense does this make? Do I believe this? Who's the source of who's telling me this? Have to be very careful. So, excuse me. So, I just think that we have just gotten to a space of just really, really a lot of just really, really trusting shit without really having real solid research being done or just really, really knowing if something is true or not. And don't get me wrong, like I said before, I ain't saying that nobody conspiracy theory is wrong because all this shit is wild and crazy, and I'm seeing what's going on and shit. So I respect it and I get it, but you got to keep in mind that you got to use your own critical thinking and don't get. And the reason is one reason why I'm saying this, so that you can keep your mind where it need to be and don't get too freaked out, so that you can elevate and you can move forward. That's the only reason because there's a lot of people who they either have an agenda, even though they saying everybody else have an agenda, or uh, they just don't know what they're talking about, or or just kind of want to talk about what the problem is. And I understand, I get it, I see a lot of it. I'm definitely of that age group where people start kind of looking around at the world and, oh my God, what's going on? This shit is crazy. I get that. However, we have to make sure that we don't have these type of things and these type of fears necessarily paralyze us because you can be paralyzed with fear and not do anything because you have to remember that sometimes when things begin to seem like they are crumbling, when things begin to really seeming like the shit is hitting the fan, what's really happening is something that's being revealed to you. The dust being shaken off. You know what I mean? There's different things that's happening, things are shifting. It's not gonna be pretty and smooth and things like that. Then we also have to take into account we as a collective, just all people, have a certain amount of energy. We have a certain amount of power, if you will, or I don't know how you want to say it. We have a I don't even know no other plain way to put it. We have a collective consciousness, if you will. We have a agreed upon reality that we all experiencing at the same time. So when you I was talking to someone about this earlier. Does anyone remember a couple of years ago when everybody was talking about this, even maybe even before the whole build a wall talk and all the rest of that shit? Do anybody remember because I remember a lot of people, whether they was in the hood, whether they was rich, whether they had money, whatever, whether they was, black or whatever, people was talking about, people coming in, immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them, and having different resources that we don't that people that was born here don't have, and just all sorts of things, and just you know different complaints of violence, all type of shit. I'm not even gonna get into it. And it just seemed like it just wasn't that long ago that I was hearing people say this shit, and even older black people, and I was just like, damn near, not really arguing or debating with them, but just kind of like, damn, that kind of sound like some familiar rhetoric from, what I mean, like some this shit sounds familiar, and they just was like, no, well, and now you fast forward. Now, not even the fast forward, even if you stop in the middle, you have individuals or an individual take said sentiment, amongst other things, use that and kind of endear people or rile people up or both do a couple of other things and get people kind of on that wavelength. You know what I mean? That separation, that hate, that I mean, I could just go into all different type of things. Kind of lean into that, and then people kind of was already in that space, and that shit just went hand in hand. And sometimes, as a collective, when people all kind of on the same shit at the same time, and the shit get to brewing, and people get to talking about it all in the streets, and all in the talk shows, and all in the podcasts, and you and your family members and your homies and y'all talking about the shit that everybody been talking about. And one minute it's like, yeah, man, this really is a problem. Somebody need to do something about this. And then somebody come through and say, oh yeah, all right. So okay, I hear y'all talking. So y'all want me to do something about yeah. Y'all want me to do something about it? Yeah. Then y'all with a little see people with a little bit of the fuckery. People always with a little bit of the fuckery. You know what I mean? Like people can come through and hey, let's XYZ to these people over there. Oh, yeah, yeah. But then when somebody turned the fuckery up to 100, then it whoa shit. Now everybody, you kind of see where I'm going with this because when it really get ugly and that people see that it's ugly, then it's just like when the shit really hit the fan, everybody is just like this shit really looking bad. But it wasn't that long ago that a lot of people's sentiments was just like these people get them out of here. You feel me? Anyway, anyway, um, with the fear mongering, like I said, the self fear mongering that we do to ourselves, and it's things that happen, but then we get to sending each other shit back to back to back. Look at this and this and this and this and this and this. I know I've seen people and I've known people who will the sky's falling about one thing, and then the next month it's a whole nother thing, and then the other thing is not even a thing that's been discussed anymore. You know what I mean? There has to be a a priority. There has to be a pattern that's noticed. People don't notice patterns. It's things that happen over and over again. Or small cycles. Shit come around again the next year, every year. There's patterns to where shit come back around 5 years, 10-year patterns 20-year patterns, 100-year patterns. People know nothing of history. So I mean, you get to talking about really understanding what's going on in the world around you and really studying history and really noticing patterns and really following what's in your heart. First of all, knowing what path you want to follow after getting to know yourself, being able to sit still and being able to sit with yourself because a lot of people can't even sit still and sit with themselves, which lends itself and tells you a lot about why they have why they have so much chaos that they like to stir up. Um, but that's just one of the things that I've noticed. You know what I mean? That there's a lot of things that come just from a certain sentiment that we have, and you stir that shit up, and it gets to cooking, and it gets to the universe is listening, and everybody kind of a person kind of can come and feed on a lot of negative energy sometimes. And sometimes if you going through a lot of different shit and you're seeing a lot of different shit, sometimes it's kind of hard not to speak on it a lot of times, it's kind of hard to have a real positive outlook a lot of times, and I understand that, but sometimes we have to understand that there are entities and there are individuals that come and feed off of that negative energy and take that shit and amplify it, and then you'll be in a whole new reality. You got to be careful with that. You have to be careful with the energy that you give off because there are individuals, entities, things that will come and take that energy and feed off of that shit and get stronger and amplify the negativity and put you in a whole nother reality, you know? Yeah. So, like I said before, man, we always talking about moving forward and bringing this shit to a new level because It's always gonna be a lot of talk about what's going on and how fucked up it is and all the rest of that, but I always wanna be the person that'll come through and talk about some of, the solutions. That's why I always start off with the mental, because once you start realizing that things I always like to say that you have walls and then you have hurdles. It's kinda similar to when they say accept the things that you cannot what I mean? The whole accept the things that I cannot change. You know what I mean? And courage to change the things that I can type of thing. It's kinda similar to that, but it's just not considering things so much as walls. Walls are more so things that you know it's gonna take a while to break through. Andy Dufresne, you know? You know what I mean? It's gonna take a while to dig through. And the hint and what I'm saying is even with a wall, you can get through it. It might take a minute on some Shawshank shit, but uh a lot of things that we consider walls are actually hurdles. And most of the things that happen, especially things that you can control, that you don't have to lend your attention to. And let me look. I'm the people who listen to the show, who was with the D Gambit Radio, Real Talk with D Gambit. No, I'm the sidebar king. I'm sorry, but on the sidebar, um, what I was about to say, damn, hold up, I almost lost my thought there. But never mind. Let me keep it moving. Um, we always want to bring this shit back to having a solution for all of this shit. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to have your thoughts and the way that your energy going just perpetuate something and put you in the loop, because that will happen. The shit will just put you in the loop. Your energy will be attracting the same thing that you don't want to come to you all over again because you keep talking about it, you keep thinking about it, and you keep trying not to think about it, and more of it just coming your way, and that shit is uh, just not what you want to do. And like I said before, always start with the mindset, because it's a lot of things that we think and that we've been told that's not true. And if you think about it, like really think about some of this shit, like some shit you never checked before, some shit you was let's talk about fallacies. A fallacy is just like you can't just necessarily just make a conclusion just because it's that close. You know what I mean? Like you can't it's not a necessarily something is not necessarily true because you just don't have a better answer. You can say, okay, yeah, they pretty goddamn scanned. You can't put that past them. They might be doing this, they might be doing that. You can't say that they're not. Man, the way that the government is, or the way that they is, or this, those, or them, or they, the infamous they. You might not, man, you don't know what they might be doing. That's true. I get that. You damn right. And what you saying that they doing, they might be doing it. But what I'm saying to you is, without knowing something for absolute fact, especially when you start getting into all of these details, it's irresponsible. And that's the definition of a fallacy. That's just one example of a fallacy. You can't just transform some shit into what you think it is or what you've been told that it is, and all of this hearsay just because it's likely, or it's something that's been rumored, or come on, y'all played the telephone game when y'all was kids. By the time it get around to the other side of the circle, the story beating changed so much. So you start talking about traveling through years and different translations and different languages and things like that. You do your critical thinking on it. You gotta damn near take everything that you've ever heard with a grain of thought, excuse me, a grain of salt, and educate yourself enough to be able to make an educated decision on anything that you might encounter that you want to go ahead and sink your teeth into and learn about. And speaking of which, you're kind of wasting your time getting but so afraid of things that you don't even know a lot about. Do yourself a favor, do a little bit more research on whatever that scares you, whatever makes you scared. Ain't nothing wrong with being scared. So then that way, when you see what's going on, when you dig into it, you never know. It might not be shit to even be afraid of. And even if it is some shit to be afraid of, you want to equip yourself with the knowledge to be able to combat that shit and not just be a victim and just fall down and die. Right. So we just have to make sure that we're moving in that type of mind frame because when you start talking about Jesus, Buddha, Allah, so on and so forth, and Krishna, and not to get too deep into that, the messages are very similar. And not to even speak too much on that because we will have different shows in which we will elaborate on that. You're talking about the Buddha, the Christos. You know what I mean? These are titles, the anointed one, the chosen one, Neo. That's you. That's you. That's me. That's the part that people don't necessarily decipher when they read these religious texts and things. And people talk about the they and people talk about all of these conspiracy theories. And that's the part that I don't think that people people, might not want you to realize that part. And while we're on the subject, just make sure that you always give people some grace. You get it, whatever you think that is knowledge and whatever uh, you get saved or you get woke or you get whatever these words that they come up with. And, just don't look down on nobody, man, because he might be over here telling you, he go tell me about some something that he got from the Bible. That's what's up. He'll tell me about my Christian brother go tell me about Jesus, you know what I mean? He go tell me something about or my dad for that matter. Something that's gonna really help me along my journey. Then this brother over here go tell me that something that Clarence X and you know what I mean, what's today's mathematics, and then this brother over here gonna tell me about arm, leg, arm, head, you know what I mean? And Allah built molding us from clay and just something that you know what I mean. And this man over here, he go tell me about Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Farrakhan. To him over here, he might be a Sunni Muslim. He'll hit me with some whole nother knowledge. So you never know. My man's over here. He more. He go tell me about how we global citizens. My man over here go tell me about, okay, no, okay, let me tell you about our Native American heritage and how that we came from before Columbus. And when he got here, seen nothing but dark people and all the rest of this. Then this brother over here go tell me about our ancient traditions from West Africa. You see what I'm saying? So once you get to putting things together in a certain collective like that, you start to begin to notice the similarities. You start putting together the things that are the same when it comes to these type of things. You start noticing that everything just fits together like a puzzle. You start getting into enlightenment and you start to understand that everything is really actually connected. Shit sound corny, probably heard it before, but is really true because everything is supported by each other. Everything is supported by each other. It couldn't even exist without each other. Every element, every polar opposite, every everything couldn't exist without each other. All of these politics that everybody is so consumed by, and you want to be a part of this group or that group. It's like without the opposite, it wouldn't even exist. And then, even if you really want to talk about the, right, left, red, blue, different sides of the same coin, different sides of the same coin, not a separate thing. It's just presented to you as a separate thing. You know the game. If not, we will talk about it. Soon. Not too much today, but yeah, just some things that's on my mind at the time. So, like I said before, we always start with the mind. Always start with the mind because once your mind gets to tricking you into something that's not gonna be beneficial for you, then you start getting stagnated. That's what makes you stop. You have to get your mind to the point to where you don't feel defeated because the things that's on your mind that's making you feel like you're defeated. Just think about it like this: the shit that you think may defeat you may not actually defeat you, but you don't even know because you didn't even try to see if it would or not. But if you're that convinced that it would, You'll never know anyway. Because just think about it like this: how many people do you think are, let's just say, they? How many people are you do you think is included in they? Always hear about they. How many people you think is they? And how many people you think is we? Well, some people talk about the 99%. Let's just make it simple. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. The 1% versus the 99. So anyone tell me what the advantage of the 99 would be. Now the 1% people would know what the what advantages would be. People would be like they have the money, they have the resources, they have the control. I understand that. Got you. Right, right, right. And so let's for sake of an argument, let's say that that's true because I got a whole nother argument on the value that people place and what people have that they don't have. Speaking of the 1%. But anyway, even if you want to argue that that's true, that they have everything, even though they're the smallest amount of people, right? The advantage of the 99% would then be the numbers, right? The sheer the masses, the number of people, right? The advantage of having a bunch of brains. So I don't know what I don't know what the population is. Um, hundreds of millions. Let's just say hundreds, 500 million. Let's just say hundreds of millions. So let's just say 1%. Let's just say so now I'm putting myself on the spot on some math shit. But let's just say let's not even get into that. But let's just say what 550 million. I'm bugging right now, but yeah, 50 million. Yeah. Let's see. 5 million. 1%. Right. So let's just say 5 million people or less. Yeah, most of the wealth and the resources and all of the shit that the rest of us wish that we had, right? Now let's say that this was completely true, and I'm not definitely not saying that it's not. At what point do we get tired enough or do we get smart enough? And I'm not even talking about violence to the point to where we think logically and critically think and think to yourself like, how could that small amount of people control that large amount of people? That should be impossible unless there's only one way a very small amount of people can control a very large amount of people. And it ain't got nothing to do with money and all the rest of the shit that y'all think it is. It's only going back to what I said about your mind. Because once you start to focus on what a person got but that you don't have, what you're doing is, or I'll put it like this, you're not you're not stating the biggest problem. When you speak about what a person got has that you don't have, you're not speaking to the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that you are focusing on what you don't have. The more you focus on what another person has that you don't have, you're not really focusing on what they have. What you're really doing is focusing on what you don't have. So when you go so just go back to what we was talking about earlier about the negative energy and it being fed off of and you becoming weaker, so to speak. Well, I'll just say so to speak. And so what I'm saying is when you have so many other things that you got to mess around and come up with, when you know that 1% over there got everything else, you can either go and take it, figure out a way to do something, whatever your advantages may be, or something of that sort. Because again, as long as you keep focusing on what another person have, what you're really focusing on is what you don't have. So it's very hard to make a wall and try to go bust through that instead of turning that shit into a hurdle, getting your practice on and getting used to hurdling obstacles. Because this is what this is. This is your mind versus you versus your mind. You turning this shit into obstacles. I mean, excuse me, you turning this shit into walls, but they're really obstacles. They're really obstacles. There's a time when shit start happening to where if your mind is if your mind is going in a certain type of direction, it's people that get rich every time tragedy strike, and it's not because they scan, it's because they opportunistic, and not even opportunistic in a bad way, but just there's always an opportunity when everything seems like it's all going bad. Even Warren Buffett was talking about that shit when it comes to finances in the stock market. Everybody else going this way, you go that way. This is very different from this is very, very man, clip that. This is very, very different from going against the grain when it comes to the flow of life. You know what I mean? When you see everybody else going this way in the crowd, you have to go this way because now, or it would behoove you to go. It would behoove you, but in all seriousness, you should really go in the other direction when you see everybody going in this way, because now you're creating your own lane. No matter what you're trying to do, it's going to be hard to stick out in this lane where everybody else at. You create your own lane. You create more value because you're a one of one. But I mean, shit, man, I can talk about this shit all day. Just make sure that y'all check this out, man, because we're gonna be talking about a lot of shit like this, man. Shout out to Bad Bunny, Super Bowl, Jay-Z and all that. Shit was almost as political and had Jim Easter egged out as Kendrick's was. I just think there's a lot of diversity in the world and in the Americas, if that's what you want to call it, and all the rest of that. And it's always been like that. It was something that a lot of people didn't want to admit or see light shined on. The shit is starting to happen. It couldn't have been held back but for so long. So yeah, you see what's happening, man. So yeah, we got some shit that we about to talk about tomorrow. Probably you'll come on here and talk about some shit, man, because everybody's talking about it's going down. It's a collapse of society, and I don't want to say no or yes and no. Or, I mean, shit. I don't want to say either, but something like that. I say something like that for sure. As we know it, you know what I mean? The shift as we know it. I'll say that. The shift as we know it, and you have to realize that it's that. And sometimes you have to look at people and see who they are for see if I mean, look, man, it's a lot of things that's going on. A lot of people not happy, and it's a lot of people not happy, and they kind of show, so it's kind of revealing who's who because a lot of people kind of mad. This shit is not gonna stay the same. A lot of people is mad because they're not gonna be able to do a lot of really, really fucked up shit that they could do before that was accepted, that was the norm. And yeah, we got a lot of shit to get into. Anybody that used to rock with me on D Gambit Radio know what time it is. This shit about to, yeah, y'all know it's about to go down, man. But yeah, buddy. Once again, man, D, Gambit, the league, Life Innovations. Like, subscribe because we about to get this shit cracking. Y'all know how we do it. D, Gambit, we in the building. Life Innovate with D Gambit. Mondays, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We keeping the shit going. D8 Gambit, Instagram. D8 Gambit. What's that? That's the Twitter, and then also Flesh God. That's the TikTok. Shit, I think that's everything. Yeah, and D8 Gambit, Facebook. I don't know if all that shit should be said, but we were talking we getting it all out. But yeah, man, we doing this shit, man, like this. So like I said, anybody that was fucking with the D Gambit video before, Life Innovate with D Gambit, it's the same thing. We changed his name. We keep that shit moving. Season 14. I'm gonna keep this YouTube shit going like we're supposed to. A lot of other exciting things coming up. Sports Innovated, still rocking, still coming. I promise. You know what I mean? So we out this piece. Let's keep this shit moving. Keep the mind going. I'm telling you, keep the mind together. Keep that shit focused. Hurdle, not walls. We will talk more about this shit. We gonna get through this shit. Over here, we talk about the solutions, not the problems. We ain't doing that shit no more. It's a whole paradigm shift. We moving forward. This is a whole new paradigm. We're in a whole new space and time. We're in a whole nother place and inside of the universe and all the rest of that good stuff. Love y'all. See y'all in a minute. D G D Gambit. Pharaoh. You know. Indeed.